All right, we are back inside because the weather here is bananas, just totally bananas. Unfortunately, I didn't have the camera on when I worked on this right here, so I'll just talk about what I did really quickly. I cut a hole, and then I glued in some 3D printed Tyranid terrain, such as that piece right there, and I just used expanding foam, just right around it. Just put some expanding foam in there, stuck them down on top of it. We're going to go ahead and paint that afterwards, make it look all green and slimy and horrible. But right now we're going to start distressing the styrofoam, and we've put our pattern down, which means as we distress it and we cut out craters and cracks and crevices, it's going to break the pattern with it, which is really nice. It's going to have a really nice feel. I have one tool, my adjustable razor blade, and I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting in little bits of damage. After that, we are going to mix our sand and black paint, and we're going to lay that down, and then we're going to let it dry, and we're going to come back and do some airbrushing and some detailing, and we're going to be pretty much done with the board. All we have to do is put the edging on, and yeah, that'll be it. So I'm going to go ahead and time lapse this. I'm just going to have fun and start making this look broken and old and ruined. Alright, so we have successfully damaged up the board, and next thing we're going to do is using hot glue. We're going to use some of these pieces that we cut out, and we're going to hot glue them around, and then we're going to paint them before we add our sand, and we're going to mix up the sand next. So I'm just going to go ahead and set up the hot glue gun and start gluing a bunch of these down. I have a whole bunch of different size pieces. It'll be really cool to like sort of lay them around and figure out where they're going to go. They still have the pattern on this side. Obviously they're pink on this side. We're going to need to paint them, but that's okay because we're going to do that with the airbrush. It's going to be super easy. So let's keep going. You know me, I'm a big fan of safety, so we are using one of our bathroom tiles as the placeholder for the hot glue, and we're very close to the outlet. We've also covered our table because we are working inside with some plastic bags, so we're going to try to keep everything nice and clean and tidy. And yeah, don't touch that part. It's very hot. It's very hot. Okay, the next step is to make our sand, and you might think this is crazy, but I'm using straight black paint. And the reason I'm using straight black paint is I'm going to be airbrushing a nice light gray over it. In fact, the same color gray that we used for these patterns. And let me tell you, it is going to look fantastic. It's going to look really weird when you see the black sand just kind of smeared all over it. But trust me, when we paint it, it's going to be really nice. So what we're going to do, we are going to empty a ton of this paint into our mixing jar, and we're going to add a whole bunch of sand, and we're just going to really nicely start mixing this together. We want it pretty coarse, so I know that we're going to need more paint and more sand. So we want it pretty thick, you know, we really do. But you don't want it too thick, because then when it dries, a lot of it will chip off. So I don't know what the exact ratio is. I just kind of go by feel. I'm using a coarser grain sand. This is actually filter sand, which is not the best choice, but it's winter time and they don't sell playground sand in the winter time, which is really annoying. So I bought filter sand. So that's looking pretty good. Actually, I think I'm going to make it a little sandier. I'm just going to keep mixing it up. Oh yeah, that's fantastic. I'm going to get a little bit closer on this. So you can see it's really gritty. It's kind of shiny right now, but it's going to be fantastic. And I'm actually going to apply this with the toothbrush and with a palette knife. All right, there we go. We have one half of the board done. We're going to let this dry overnight. It is going to take a long time to dry because it's paint and it's thick. Tomorrow we're going to have to brush off a whole bunch of the pieces that don't stick on, and then after that we're going to add a little bit more detailing and we're going to airbrush this out, and trust me, it's going to look magnificent. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the second half of the board, and then I will see you guys in a second, but for me, it'll be tomorrow. Okie dokie, we are back and our sand is nice and dry, and I know it looks weird with all this black sand over it, but what we are going to do right now is we are going to dry brush some lighter gray but still a bit dark onto this, and then we are going to airbrush some details on in the same color that we used for our overlay pattern, and we're going to get all the pink and everything, and it's going to be great. So I'm going to do that right now in super fast forward. Shiba, come on, go to bed, go to bed. So we're going to be adding our Tyranid, what's it called? Spawn pool?
And it's like in StarCraft, it's a spawning pool. In this, I think it's called a digestion pool.
Digestion pool, and we're going to be doing that by putting down a layer of brown on our expanding foam. Trying to be careful of the gray, but we can go back and fix that. And then we are going to be putting green on top of that and doing a brown wash. And then my fantastic partner over here is going to go back and add some detail to the Tyranid spires.
Sporting.
We have our base coat of brown on, and now we are going to paint the first green layer, which is going to be a darker green, and then we're going to airbrush a lighter green, and then we're going to go ahead and put a wash on. The green paint that I'm using is just acrylic green, and then I'm going to be airbrushing fresh grass, which is a little bit light, but I'm actually going to be mixing this with some yellow and getting it more of a yellow green. And then I will be using Agric's Earthshade Gloss for doing a wash over that. And then last but not least, we are going to put some hot glue on it, unpainted, and make little tentacles and tendrils. Hot glue has a tendency to string, which is normally really annoying, but in this case, we're actually hoping to utilize the stringing effect to make it look all globby and gross. So, let's get our paint out and get this done. Once this is done, I believe the board is finished. There we go. Our terrain board is fully painted. The only thing we have left to do is paint up the edge black and put our wood on it, which I'm going to go ahead and do this evening. And I will update one final time, but this is what it looks like. I did add some of these. These are just some stones that I painted gray. Give me some flexibility, move them around, but I think it's looking really good. We got our Tyranids coming out. We have our beautiful cathedral, and I parked some Thunderfire cannons on top of it. It's looking good. I'm excited. Well, I guess we'll find out what the people at Adepticon have to say.